milligrams of caffeine. So you have to be really careful with breastfeeding. Yeah. So it goes along with that as well. So you have to just be careful, whenever you're doing that. Yeah, so definitely if you're breastfeeding, and think about that too, as a little baby, that baby is growing based on the nutrients that the mother is feeding it, and so we want to make sure that we're good there. And I even tell definitely less than 200 milligrams. I would even say keep it under 100 milligrams for pregnant women. And then if you have a high-risk pregnancy, you just are totally abstaining. And you can do that. All right. All right, so weight control, it absolutely shows that it helps here. It's going to boost metabolism, right? Because you're moving into fight or flight. Metabolism increases. They're saying it's actually an increase about 10% for several hours of metabolism after ingesting caffeine. It's kind of a part of the puzzle. Obviously, we're going to promote diet and exercise first, and then, ingesting some caffeine can just be a part of that whole process. Okay, and we talked about this a little bit. Not only can it impair the length of sleep, it can impair the quality of sleep. However, if you have to stay awake, you can use it for that. And my really fast story once is in college. I stayed up all night. I was one of those stupid students. Now I would tell myself, don't stay up all night. Study what you can. Go get a good night's sleep, and you're going to remember more in the end. But I stayed up all night for anatomy and physiology exam, and I had to drive home the next day, 4 hours, and one of my nursing student friends gave me a caffeine pill, and I said, oh, I will not take that. Stuck it in my pocket. I am halfway home and falling asleep. And so I told God, I said, I told God, I said, if I reach in my coat pocket and it's a pocket with the pill, I'm going to take it. I took it and I felt horrible. But I made it home safe, but I didn't sleep then for the whole next night. So that starts a whole vicious cycle, right? Now I'm 2 nights without sleep, and it just continues on and on and on. So you have to be careful with what you're using, but it does help to decrease drowsiness, and it does keep you alert. I did find that out. I was a little bit strung out a little there. I was crazy. Mortality. Okay, so just regular caffeine consumption is not associated with increased mortality. However, the large doses can lead to problems, especially if somebody is sensitive to caffeine. Okay, and you can have problems, and then people trying to lose weight, if they're taking some supplements to help them do that, they can overdose from that. We've talked about energy drinks, so I'm not going to linger there. Let me just make sure. I think I covered everything early. Just one thing, since we're moving into alcohol, there is a trend of combining energy drinks and alcohol together, and that obviously is not a good idea. All right, so you are, you're kind of not thinking straight, and then you have this increased, energy drive. So you do have to be careful there. Okay. So 65% of American adults drink. And this is interesting. The percent of drinkers increases with higher levels of education. 80% of college students drink. And then the problem with that, college students are more likely to binge drink. Now, I'm probably just really naive, but is that different, do you think, here at Spring Arbor compared to other campuses? I am seeing a mixture of agreement or disagreement. I would hope it's not at 80%, but I don't know. And then 80% of athletes drink. I would hope that is not, drink alcohol. I would hope that is not the case. And then more than 50% of high school students drink. So here's another thing to think about too, is that it does have energy. And so there are 7 calories per gram of alcohol. So when I am counseling people on weight loss, I see a wide variety of people. They just hear that I do this. Hey, will you help me get my nutrition under control or help me lose my weight? You know, I said, well, I will guide you. What you do is up to you. But first thing I tell them, if you're drinking, quit drinking. Okay? Because you're intaking these calories and you're not realizing what you're intaking. So that's one of the first things. Get back to just water. And tea, maybe some coffee, you know, instead of alcohol or pop. Yeah?
The last thing on the slide said was the ancient Greeks. Athletes that consumed alcohol prior to, you know why they did that?
You know what? I think it was more of a ceremony. Yeah. They talked about a couple of the different people back in the day that they followed. And I think it was ceremonial. Do you guys know any different? They may have thought, you know, it helped performance too. What was that?
I was going to say, where's Deb Thompson?
I know, she would know, right?
She's like the ancient.
Give her a call. Yeah, the history. Yeah, I really think it was ceremonial. But they may have thought back then, you know, because you feel a little bit freer that, you know, performance increased. But yeah. So if you look at, oh wait, we're back at the beginning. If you look at the beginning of the chapter around figure 13.2, it talks about the different pathways of alcohol. And so what is happening is alcohol is absorbed in the stomach as well as the small intestine. It goes then through the blood, travels through the blood and into the different tissues. 3 to 10% of it is excreted, but most of it is metabolized by the liver. This is why our poor liver, right? After this class, you're going to be like, man, we got to figure out how to treat this liver right. It gets beat up a little bit, but it is hard on the liver to metabolize, and that is why a lot of people who are alcoholics end up having issues with liver, and a lot of times that's what ends up taking their life. But per hour, the liver can metabolize about 1/3 ounce of alcohol. So then if you think how many ounces are in a drink or how much you would consume in an hour, know that only 1/3 of that is metabolized. Therefore, the rest is floating around in the blood, and then that's where we get our blood alcohol level. Okay. And so it is actually metabolized, it kind of more like a fat, and in between carbohydrates and fat is where the alcohol would be metabolized. And so there is an article, I'll probably make it part of our discussion board for the next time to take a peek at that. All right. It is a depressant or narcotic. It binds in the brain, and so here dopamine is released, which is associated with pleasure, which is why people become addicted to alcohol. And then, this is not surprisingly, but inhibitory control centers are repressed. Okay, so you are not going to be thinking as straight as you normally would without. And so, you know, then kind of something that's really interesting is that there's also stimulant effects, or there can be. Everybody is an individual, and alcohol will affect them differently. And so you need to be very careful with it. I kind of file alcohol under the category as we don't need it to live, and probably the risks outweigh the benefits that you would get from alcohol, so just don't go there. That is my, that's my own personal soapbox there. Yeah?
Is there a difference between different types of alcohol, like wine versus whiskey or something like that, where you might have antioxidants and stuff in the wine?
Yeah, and so that is true. So there are, you know, there are phytochemicals within wine that can help with, I can never say this, resveratrol. I did, I just said it, resveratrol. that is in it that can help. And so, you know, if somebody is able to have, you know, a wine with supper a few times a week, it could be beneficial. I also think you can get that from eating other fruits and veggies. So that is just my opinion. You know, I just say, but I also have alcoholism in my past, and that's something to think about too, that if it is in your genes, you may just not want to go there. And so, not my past, kind of hereditary genetic wise. So, yeah, no, it was not. I just realized what I said. I'm so glad I caught that. Anyway, so alcoholism is, what am I looking for? What's the word? Anyway, so I just say wait because it is shown to pass. And so, you know, it is something to be careful with. So, you know, it really could impair performance, so you want to be careful. Also recovery afterwards. So basically, it is not going to help your performance to drink alcohol. That is the bottom line here. It is prohibited in certain sports. We don't want somebody out there with a gun or a bow and arrow. It is not an ergogenic aid. Okay, it will not help performance, so just stay away. So these are the positive things. So talking about resveratrol, see, yeah, the phytochemicals in red wine. You know, so here's what they're saying: light, moderate drink, 2 drinks a day for men, 1 drink for women. I still say that much is still, especially if somebody's trying to do weight management or trying to have optimal performance as an athlete. There are other ways to get the benefits from it, and so I still say that the risks outweigh the benefits of adding alcohol to a lifestyle.
What does it mean when it says 2 drinks?
Yeah, you know what? And so your book shows that. If you peek at the very first page, a drink that they're looking at is like a glass of wine, a can or bottle of beer, or 1 shot glass. You know, and so it kind of compares what that looks like. So 4 ounces of wine, 12 ounces of beer, 1.25 ounces of whiskey are 1 drink. I think not all together. You just have to.
How does it improve or increase HDL cholesterol?
You know what? I am not quite sure. Does anybody know? It could just be the phytochemicals that are there. That would help with that. That would be my guess. And so, yeah, I'm not quite sure on that. Anybody have a thought there? That's something I would have to look up. But exercise also does that. So it could be the release of epinephrine, if that is what happens. Okay, negative effects. I didn't want to leave on positive effects of alcohol. So the negative effects of alcohol, liver disease is the top of there. Our liver has to work hard to metabolize it. There can be psychological problems if somebody becomes dependent on alcohol to get them through. Heavy consumption can lead to cardiovascular disease. A light consumption, they say, can actually help with that. And so cancers, there is a direct correlation between alcohol and the promotion of different cancers. Colorectal, oropharyngeal cancers, all are related to that. And then not to say, you know, if somebody's pregnant, they really should not be drinking alcohol. And then just becoming dependent on something is a problem, okay? So we'll leave it at this. We will finish